Art 1. The Call of the Night Wind. Tonight, as you settle beneath your blankets, letting the last traces of daylight slip from your thoughts, allow yourself to drift into a world far beyond worry, far beyond noise, a world shaped by quiet magic and the comforting glow of ancient starlight. This is the land of Lyria, a peaceful kingdom tucked between rolling silver hills and a vast, enchanted forest whispered about in bedtime stories for generations. They call it the Whispering Forest, not for danger or fear, but because the leaves themselves sing softly at night, telling tales older than memory and sweeter than dreams. In this gentle land lived a young wanderer named Lyria. She was known not for bravery or strength, but for her curiosity, a quiet, gentle curiosity that made her notice details others overlooked. The way morning dew shaped tiny rainbows on spiderwebs, how owl feathers shimmered silver beneath the moon, or how the night wind seemed to carry voices that spoke not in words, but in feelings. Lyria lived at the edge of a peaceful village called Moonrest, a tiny settlement of cozy stone cottages, each with chimneys that puffed out warm, honey-scented smoke at dusk. The villagers were kind, simple people who believed deeply in the comfort of routine. But Lyria, she carried a longing in her heart, a longing to understand the forest that bordered the village like a guardian watching over sleeping children. Whenever she gazed into the woods, she felt something, a softness, a presence, as though the forest itself recognized her, as though it had been waiting. And on one particular night, it finally called to her. The sky above Lyria was a deep velvet blue, painted with millions of quiet stars, each glowing like a tiny lantern guiding travelers home. The moon hung low and full, shining with a gentle silver light that made the entire forest shimmer as though draped in stardust. Lyria could not sleep. She lay in her small wooden room, listening to the soft drums of crickets outside her window. The pillow beneath her head was warm, her blanket comforting, yet her mind drifted restlessly, her thoughts caught on a strange sensation lingering in the air. It was almost like a whisper, not a voice, not exactly, more like a feeling brushing against her heart, a wordless pull. Lyria sat up slowly, brushing aside a lock of chestnut hair. Her window was open just slightly, letting in a cool night breeze that smelled faintly of pine and wild lavender. As she walked closer, she heard it again, that quiet, melodic hum drifting from the forest. It wasn't frightening. It wasn't urgent. It was an invitation. A soft sigh escaped her lips as she leaned on the windowsill, letting the moonlight wash over her face. "Are you calling me?" she murmured, and though she expected no answer, the whispering hum strengthened ever so slightly, like a gentle nod. Lyria's heart fluttered. The forest was alive, truly alive, and tonight it wanted to show her something. She dressed quietly, slipping into a soft tunic and cloak woven from warm wool. Her boots were well worn, but comfortable, molded perfectly to the shape of her feet from years of wandering the village paths. Before stepping outside, she paused at the doorway and closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The night smelled of cool earth and fresh leaves. The world seemed to be holding its breath in anticipation. Lyria stepped out into the moonlit village. Every cottage was dark, except for the soft glow of embers behind shuttered windows. The stone pathways were silent, lit faintly by lanterns that flickered like sleepy eyes. Beyond the village, past the little wooden bridge that crossed a trickling stream, the forest waited. As Lyria walked, her footsteps made almost no sound. The air grew cooler, crisper. Fireflies floated lazily around her. their little lights blinking like stars that had drifted down to dance between the grasses. And then she reached the edge of the whispering forest. The trees towered above her, ancient and beautiful, their leaves shimmering faintly under the moonlight. The whispering hum she had felt earlier now surrounded her, soft and rhythmic, like a lullaby sung by the wind. Lyria hesitated for just a moment, not out of fear, but out of awe. The forest felt warm, welcoming, familiar, like an old friend she had never met. She placed one hand gently against the bark of the nearest tree. It was smooth, surprisingly warm, almost pulsing with a quiet life beneath the surface. The whisper grew stronger, more inviting, more comforting. With a slow, steady breath, Lyria stepped into the forest. Inside, everything felt different. The ground was blanketed in soft moss that cushioned her steps like a plush carpet. Leaves overhead rustled in slow, rhythmic patterns, creating a soothing harmony that echoed throughout the woods. The air carried the scent of blooming night flowers, sweet, calming, and slightly magical. As she walked deeper, Lyria noticed something strange. The forest seemed to light up as she passed. Tiny flecks of luminescent dust drifted down from the leaves, glowing softly like falling stars. When they touched the moss, they vanished silently, leaving behind only warmth. She lifted her hand, letting a few flecks land on her palm. They tingled pleasantly before dissolving into her skin. "It's beautiful," she whispered, and then she heard it. A voice, soft, ancient, and gentle, emerging from somewhere deeper in the forest. "Welcome, child of moonlight." Lyria froze. Her heart beat faster, not in fear, but in wonder. The forest was speaking. "Do not be afraid," the voice continued, warm as a lullaby. "You have heard our call for many nights. Tonight, you answered." Lyria swallowed, gathering her courage. Who are you?" she asked softly. The leaves rustled warmly, almost like laughter. "We are the whispering forest," the voice said, "and you, Lyria, have a destiny intertwined with ours." The air glowed brighter, the forest breathed around her like a living dream, and Lyria, standing alone in the moonlit woods, felt as though her life was about to change forever. Part 2. The Guardian of the Forest. The whispering voice faded gently into the night air, leaving behind only the soft shimmer of drifting lights. Lyria stood very still, letting the words settle in her heart like warm embers settling into a quiet hearth. Destiny, intertwined, with the forest. She breathed slowly, feeling the forest's pulse beneath her feet, a gentle thrum like the heartbeat of an ancient creature. The moss cushioned her steps as she moved deeper, and though she could not yet see the source of the voice, something guided her, a warm breeze brushing her cheek, a shifting glow in the distance, the slight parting of branches as if inviting her forward. The forest wasn't just alive, it was aware. Lyria soon came upon a narrow path woven naturally from silver-tinted roots. They wound gently through the trees, forming a walkway that glowed faintly beneath her feet. With each step, the illumination brightened, lighting the way ahead with soft, dreamlike radiance. As she followed the glowing path, the whispering leaves above shifted into a melodic hum. Not words, but emotions. Calmness, curiosity, welcome. Before long, the trees opened into a small clearing bathed in moonlight. Here, the forest glowed more intensely, as though the moon itself had chosen this place as its resting spot. At the center stood a large stone, covered in ancient runes that glimmered with a pale gold light. Lyria approached slowly, unable to tear her gaze away. The runes pulsed softly, as if sensing her arrival. And then, from behind the stone, a figure emerged. He was tall, taller than any person she had seen, with long silver hair that flowed like water under moonlight. His skin held a faint luminescent tone, almost like the forest lights she had seen drifting through the air. His eyes were gentle, ancient, and shimmering gold. He wore robes woven from living vines and starlit fabric, glistening with dew and soft magic. Yet his presence was peaceful, calming. He didn't feel like a warrior or a king. He felt like the forest itself. Given form, Lyria took a careful step back, but the figure raised the hand, palm open, radiating warmth. "Do not fear," he said, and his voice was the same one she had heard earlier, soft and melodic, as though it were shaped from wind. "I am Aaron, guardian of the whispering forest." Illyria's breath caught in her throat. A guardian, a being of pure magic, a protector of ancient lands. She had heard rumors of such beings in old bedtime stories, but never truly believed them. Why did you call me here?" she asked softly. Aaron studied her with gentle eyes, as though seeing not her face, but her heart. "Because you carry a quiet spirit, a listening spirit, one who feels the world rather than merely walks through it." His words flowed like warm water, easing the tension in her shoulders. "The forest has been searching," Aaron continued, "for someone who can hear its voice, someone who walks gently with the world, someone who remembers wonder." Lyria blinked slowly. "But I'm just a villager. I don't have magic. I don't have anything special." Aaron smiled, the corners of his golden eyes softening. "Magic does not always appear as fire or lightning, Lyria. Sometimes it is the ability to see beauty in simple things. Sometimes it is kindness. Sometimes it is curiosity strong enough to follow a whisper into the unknown." The trees rustled around them in warm agreement, leaves shimmering like silver feathers in the breeze. "You have been chosen," Aaron said softly, "because your heart is quiet enough to truly listen." Lyria felt a warmth spread in her chest, gentle, comforting, like stepping into sunlight after a long winter. Still, confusion lingered. Chosen for what? Aaron stepped toward her, moving with a grace so smooth it felt like he was gliding rather than walking. He lifted a hand, and the runes on the stone glowed brighter. "For a journey," he said, "one only you can take. The forest is changing, waking. Something ancient stirs beyond its borders, and we must prepare. But before that, you must learn the ways of the whispering trees." The words settled between them like falling feathers, soft but heavy with meaning. Lyria's voice was barely above a whisper. "Learn? Me?" Aaron nodded. "You have always felt the forest's presence, even before you understood it. You hear its emotions. Tonight was the first time it reached out strongly enough for you to come. It is time you learn the meaning behind its whispers." He extended his hand toward her. Lyria hesitated, not out of fear, but humility. Could she really be someone the forest needed? Someone chosen by magic older than her village, older than the kingdom? But the forest hummed softly around her, a comforting melody that soothed her doubts. She placed her hand in Aaron's. Warmth flowed instantly through her, spreading from her fingers up her arm, across her chest, and into her heart. It felt like sunlight breaking through clouds, like warm tea on a cold evening, like gentle hands wrapping her in a loving embrace. Aaron's voice softened even further. "Come, there is someone you must meet." Leaves swayed aside as Aaron led her toward a deeper path. Fireflies drifted down from above, lighting their way like floating lanterns. Every so often, the moss beneath Lyria's feet pulsed with faint golden circles, as though recognizing her presence. They soon reached a quiet glade enclosed by arching tree branches. In its center stood a small pool of crystal clear water. The surface glimmered with reflections not of the present, but of shifting stars, glowing forests, and distant mountains. It was alive with visions. "This is the pool of echoes," Aaron whispered. "It shows what was, what is, and what may be." Lyria gazed into the waters. The images swirled gently, glowing rivers, soft creatures with wings of light, towering trees made of pure crystal. She looked deeper, drawn like a moth to a flame. And then she saw it, a vast shape moving beyond the forest, quiet, slow, awakening, a shadow of something ancient yet peaceful, not frightening, but powerful, like a mountain stirring from a long slumber. Her breath trembled. "What? What is that?" Aaron's expression softened, tinged with something like sorrow and reverence. "That is what we must prepare for. The Heartwood Guardian, an ancient being tied to the forest itself. It has slept for centuries, dreaming gentle dreams. But soon, it will wake, and when it does, the forest will change." Lyria felt the warm breeze tighten slightly, its tone shifting from curiosity to anticipation. "Why me?" she whispered. "What can I do?" Aaron looked at her with quiet kindness. "Because the Heartwood Guardian does not wake easily. It needs a voice it can trust, a gentle heart, someone who listens." He placed a hand over hers. "And that someone is you." The stars shimmered overhead. The forest sighed softly, and Lyria felt her destiny beginning to unfold. Part 3. The first lesson of the Whispering Trees. The pool of echoes slowly stilled, its visions fading back into shimmering reflections of moon and leaves. Lyria stood quietly beside it, her hand still resting in Aaron's, the guardian's warmth anchoring her in the midst of everything she'd just seen. The idea of a slumbering Heartwood Guardian, older than kingdoms and stories, stirred something deep in her chest. Not fear, but a humble sense of wonder. She felt very small, and at the same time, strangely honored. "The Heartwood will wake," Aaron said softly. "But how it wakes, that is what matters." Lyria tore her gaze from the water and looked up at him. "Will it be angry?" Aaron shook his head slowly. "No, the Heartwood Guardian is not a creature of anger. It is a being of balance. But the world beyond the forest has changed. Humans have forgotten how to listen. If it wakes into a world that fears or ignores it, there may be unrest, confusion. The forest may close itself, hiding its magic away." He turned, his robes flowing like streams of moonlight over moss, and met Illyria's eyes with a gentle, steady gaze. "That is why you must learn to listen more deeply than any human has listened in many lifetimes. The Guardian will understand the forest, but it will not understand the hearts of villagers, travelers, kings. It will need a bridge." Lyria swallowed softly. "A bridge," she repeated. "Yes," Aaron said. "Someone who speaks both languages, the language of people and the silent language of leaves, rivers, roots, the language of quiet minds." He squeezed her hand one last time before letting it go. "Come, your first lesson begins with the trees." They left the pool of echoes behind, following a narrow trail that wound through towering trunks and hanging vines. The deeper they went, the softer the world became. Even Lyria's breath felt slower, gentler, as though the forest was helping her relax. Small creatures watched them pass, glowing-eyed owls, tiny foxes with silver-tipped tails, round little birds that shimmered in pastel colors. None of them fled. They simply blinked sleepily, as if accustomed to the Guardian's presence and already accepting of Lyria's. After some time, minutes or hours she couldn't tell, they arrived at a ring of massive trees, unlike any Lyria had ever seen. They were impossibly tall, stretching so high that their crowns disappeared into a soft silver mist. Their trunks were wide enough that 10 people holding hands could not encircle one. Their bark was patterned with glowing lines like veins of starlight, pulsing slowly in rhythm with the gentle hum of the forest. Aaron bowed his head respectfully. "These," he whispered, "are the Eversong trees. They are the oldest living beings in Lyria, aside from the heartwood itself. They remember every winter, every storm, every laughter-filled spring that has ever passed through these woods." Lyria stared in awe. The air around the Eversong trees vibrated with a low, soothing tone, almost like a faraway choir humming a single endless note. "They are singing," she murmured. Aaron smiled. "Yes, they have always been singing. Few notice." He gestured for her to come closer. "Your first task is simple, but not easy. You must learn to hear more than sound. You must hear the feelings within the song." Lyria stepped forward until she stood between the trunks, wrapped in their glow. The hum filled her ears, her chest, her bones. It was steady, neither happy nor sad, just present. "How do I begin?" she asked. "Sit," Aaron said gently. "Rest your back against the tree that feels right to you. Close your eyes. Let your thoughts drift like leaves in a stream. Do not chase them. Let them float away." She did as he instructed. The moss beneath her was cool and soft, cradling her like a cushion. She chose a tree whose bark radiated a faint warmth and leaned against it, closing her eyes. The hum grew louder inside her head, but not in a harsh way. It was like being held inside a lullaby. "Breathe," Aaron said softly from somewhere nearby. "In and out. Slow as the turning of seasons. Each breath a gentle wave on a quiet shore." Lyria inhaled deeply, the scent of earth and leaves filling her lungs. She exhaled, letting go of questions, worries, and the faint tremor of disbelief that this was all truly happening. "In and out," she repeated quietly to herself. Little by little, her thoughts loosened. The image of her village, her small room, the nightly routines she knew so well, they all drifted like dandelion seeds, carried away on unseen wind. All that remained was breath, and the tree behind her, solid and warm, and the endless, soft hum of the Eversong. As she surrendered to the sound, it began to change. At first, it was a single note. Then, slowly, other notes emerged, subtle layers of tone she hadn't noticed before. Deep echoes near the roots, light, fluttering whispers near the canopy, a faint, rhythmic pulse like raindrops on leaves. The song wasn't one sound, it was thousands, all woven together. She listened without trying to understand. She let the music pour through her. And then, something shifted. The hum deepened, and Lyria felt it move through her chest in a wave of calm. A feeling rose up, not a word, not an image, but a sensation: gratitude. Warm and broad, like the sun stretching across a valley. It filled her with a gentle, glowing contentment. The trees were grateful. But for what? Her. The realization came softly, like a feather landing on still water. The trees were grateful she was here, listening. Grateful she cared. Grateful someone from beyond the forest had come with respect in her heart. Lyria's eyes remained closed, but tears pricked gently at the corners. "They're thankful," she whispered. Somewhere to her right, Aaron's voice floated to her, soft and pleased. "Good. What else do you feel?" She let the tears fall silently, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming warmth. "Peace," she murmured. "They feel peaceful, and Patient, very patient, like they've been waiting so long that time doesn't mean the same thing anymore. The tree's hum shifted, a slight upward lilt, and she sensed something like affection. The way an elder might smile at a child taking their first steps. Lyra's lips curved in a tiny, sleepy smile. The forest around her felt like a vast, comforting embrace. "You are hearing true," Aaron said quietly. "The Eversong trees speak in emotions, not words. They share what they feel with those who will listen. And now, they know your presence." "How do they see me?" Lyra asked, still keeping her eyes closed. "Through touch," Aaron replied. "Through the warmth of your back against their bark. Through the rhythm of your breath. Through the quiet parts of your heart." She rested her palms flat on the moss. The hum wrapped around her like a blanket. Slow, steady, endlessly soothing. Time blurred. Minutes, maybe hours passed in stillness. Lyra's body relaxed completely. Her shoulders dropped, her jaw unclenched. The thoughts that once buzzed in her mind quieted to a soft, distant murmur. In that tranquil silence, another feeling emerged from the song, a sense of distant stirring, like someone turning over in their sleep. "The Heartwood Bardian," she breathed. "Yes," Aaron said. "Even asleep, it feels the forest. And now, because of the Eversong, it will begin to feel you." A small flutter of nervousness brushed her chest, but it was gentle, quickly soothed by the tree's deep, patient calm. "What if I make a mistake?" she asked, barely more than a whisper. "You will," Aaron answered, and there was quiet humor in his tone. "Everyone does. But the forest is patient, as you have felt. Mistakes made with a loving heart do not harm it. They become lessons, and the lessons become roots, anchoring you more strongly to what is true." A soft breeze lifted her hair, cool and fragrant. The Eversong trees hummed in a slightly lower tone, as though agreeing. Slowly, Lyria opened her eyes. The world looked the same, yet different. Colors seemed softer yet deeper, as if every leaf held stories under its surface. She could still hear the hum of the trees, even with her eyes open, a background lullaby that would not quite fade. She stood on unsteady legs, and Aaron extended a hand to steady her. "You listened well," he said. "For the first lesson, that is all you needed to do." It felt, Lyra searched for the right word, like coming home to somewhere I had never been. Aaron's smile widened, gentle and full of something like pride. "Then the forest has accepted you." Above them, the canopy rustled in a leisurely wave, like 1,000 hands applauding in slow motion.